Okay. I do know that with this particular show, it was extremely substantive in nature because this is important, and there should never be interactions, especially with individuals with a disability, that result in their death. I think it's highly negligent on officers to not be aware and informed and having been trained. But more importantly, this kind of issue really requires a collaborative community response, because we can't just put it all on officers to be able to recognize when they may be engaging someone that has a disability, a cognitive issue, or but your point around making sure that the child has been immersed into the community is so significant. And then again, making sure that law enforcement, because see, we can't predict when they will or will not have an interaction. And so law enforcement has to, at some level, take responsibility for not being the frontline responders. It should not be the frontline responders. And if they get called, there should be a collective response. Back in the 90s, there used to be first responders such as social workers and mental health teams that accompany police officers to these situations.
Definitely. That is, if they call them and tell them that is special need, they should be able to do that. And I don't think they do anymore. They just come on their own.
And that's where the cutting and the slicing and dicing of budgets occurred, was at that
Yes.
level. And
Yes.
so, and parents got to become a little bit more vocal, I would imagine, more vocal in their community about demanding that they have these kind of services put back in the budget. They need to allocate for these kind of responders so that the police are not the ones that's responding. And if they have to respond, it must be mandated that they come out on a call that has been identified as a call involving someone with a disability. They must be accompanied by a team of social workers. So I'm very thankful that we've had this conversation, because I really do believe parents are going to walk away with a little bit more insight about maybe taking a second to look at whether or not they really want to call the police, and maybe stepping up now and saying, hey, let me try to identify some of these resources and maybe tack them up on a sheet of paper by the refrigerator, so I know who to call when I need to.
Definitely. And parents also need to be trained in crisis management also. That policemen are all trained in crisis management, but they manage the obstinate type of behavior, but with a special need, the management will be different. And if a parent knows the child better, and with that background, they will be able to de-escalate situations in their home. And look at this 13-year-old that I just talked about, the one that happened in Utah. 13-year-old is a baby. How are you calling a police officer? How big could that kid be? Seriously. I understand they have mighty powers, but it's your child, and they know they are upset. There's a way to de-escalate them. But calling police also, I put some of the roles on the parent. You have to actually learn about your child, learn about ways to de-escalate situations when situations like that arise, and find out what to do now to even trigger the situation in the first place.
That's something that I have not heard many people talk about, is parents being trained in crisis management at home to be able to help their child. Do you know many resources around? I mean, do you know of any parents that are doing that? I mean, that seems like, okay, this seems like they're operating somewhat out of fear towards their child.
Definitely.
But how do we get them? That's something you might need to implement. How to train parents in crisis management to be able to manage.
And I do have certificate on that, by the way.
Okay.
Yes, crisis intervention and crisis management.
Okay, I'm going to make notes of that, so that when we put up information on the site post to show that you have certifications in crisis intervention and management, correct? Okay. All right, great. All right, well, this is our recap from the show. Just wanted to kind of throw around some additional points of discussion and things that we maybe didn't mention. And so thank you so much, and trust you enjoyed the recap.